Hi, this is Melanie for the Pardesi channel. I'm here to talk about a Malayalam classic, a Mohanlal film from 1989, Kireedam. So every one of you have been over and over and over saying, you have to see this film, you have to see it, you have to see it. So the title means The Crown. And you were all right. This is one of the best Mohanlal films I've ever seen. It is an amazing performance. And not only that, it is an amazing script to this film. So I don't know that I was watching it with the best subtitles. I found a copy on YouTube. It's on Hotstar, but with no subtitles. So I found a copy on YouTube, and some of the subtitles were a little wonky, but at least I think I got the gist of what was being said. Amazing, amazing performances. So as I saw in Devasuram, the legendary actor Thilakan plays Mohanlal's father. And at the beginning of the film, he is a police constable, and he wants his son, Mohanlal, to take the ISP exam and become an officer and follow in his footsteps, but one step better. So his son is studying for the exam. It's a family there's another son, there's a daughter at home, and there's also a daughter that's married to a ne'er-do-well. So it's not so much a love story. It's both a story of this relationship of Mohanlal with his father, and it's Mohanlal's character is Sethu. And then it's also the story of circumstances happening to someone, and then that changing their life forever and changing the way everyone in society looks at you. This film is 30 years old. I don't really know that I need to give a spoiler warning, but I can't really discuss it without really getting into what happens in the film, which is so heavy and just wow. So if you haven't seen the film, just stop right here and know, yes, this is one of the #1 Mohanlal films ever. It is a must-see. You have to go find it on YouTube and watch it immediately. The character that Thilakan plays, this father, is so rigid. He is not a corrupt police officer. He is very much by the book, sees things in black and white. And he has an encounter in their sleepy little town with the son of an MLA who fights him over a parking ticket, I think. And instead of just letting the guy go, once he realizes he's a politician, an MLA's son, Thilakan's character drives the car away and then refuses to apologize to the politician. So that leads to the entire family being transferred to, I couldn't really tell if it was a neighboring village or what, but to a notoriously rife with gangs and crime town or village or neighborhood or something. So this being so rigid in this one and seemingly upstanding. So if you're with him, but then when you see everything else that happens, you're like, was it really worth a parking ticket for all of what happened to your family from that point? So as the entire family has to go, and you see there's notorious gangsters who run the town. The police just kind of let them fight or are corrupt themselves and have just almost given up with having any influence, because it seems like the gang leader, Kireedam Jose, played by Mohan Raj, very menacing, is the head of this gang. So he's really runs the entire town. And everyone all the merchants have to pay, protection money, basically. So it seems like it's this hopeless situation. And then there's a fight in the town, and the father rushes in to break up the fight when the other police are standing back. He rushes in, almost wins him over, and then Mohanlal, the son, is standing in this huge crowd watching and sees his father about to get beat up and rushes in. And even these fight sequences had something special about them. I read later that Mohanlal was a wrestler himself, and there were so many wrestling moves, and the fights were just visceral in the way that they were choreographed. This was not fake, people flying through the air kind of fighting. It was that kind of really gritty, realistic. And at a certain point, Mohanlal almost is about to get really beat up, and he reaches back and grabs a tool, and he really wails on the guy. Now, he doesn't even know who this is. Well, of course, it's the notorious gangster, and it's almost like the Wizard of Oz. Ding dong, the witch is dead. You know what I mean? Like, the entire town goes crazy. They think that Mohanlal Sethu has killed the villain, the gangster. Carry Mohanlal away on their shoulders. He's acclaimed. Fireworks go off. Like, the whole place goes crazy with celebration. And that's where everything changes, because you saw this fight where people had good intentions, and then something happened in that moment when Mohanlal grabbed that, I don't even know, it was some sort of metal rod, and he just really wailed on that guy beyond what maybe he needed to. And his father sees that. Is the catalyst. So after we have had an hour of, seeing this happy family, and then seeing their circumstances start to change, and then everyone starts looking at Mohanlal differently. The town starts treating him as if now he's the head gangster. His brother-in-law takes advantage of getting free drinks at the bar because he's the brother-in-law of Sethu, All sorts of things happen, and people assume that Mohanlal is taken on a different, and even his family looks at him differently. And then other things happen. There's another fight, and it was different, because it was like Mohanlal knew once these gangsters got out of the hospital that they were going to come after him, and one comes after him, wrestles him, ties him up, and then is taunted. This gangster has his hands tied behind his back and is taunting Mohanlal, and Mohanlal says, "I want to live," and then starts wailing on him with a metal rod again, to the point that evidently the guy's hands had to be amputated or something. They have a line later, so you see something has happened to this young man that we saw that seemed so innocent at the beginning. And that's just what is brilliant about the performance, because we're seeing this transformation over the course of the movie of this loving son. Something happens because his father put him in this really violent neighborhood. He tries to save his father, but then something is unleashed. Something happens to him, and both in the way people treat him, and something comes out from himself of this violent streak of going a step beyond he needs to, maybe in these situations, but also because he happened to fight, this gangster. Now he has set up this revenge scenario where the gangster and his gang are after him, after his family, and that final confrontation at the end. Oh my God. Again, like, I'm assuming this movie's been out for 30 years. Everyone has seen it, but the way Mohanlal plays it and the look on his father's face, because it's Thilakan, and how he plays it, just the horror of what his son has become, and what Mohanlal realizes he has done when he doesn't just fight and defeat someone, but he has to beat them and murder them. At the end, he had taken his grandfather's knife. Grandmother is so bloodthirsty. She likes to see the cladding. He has this conversation with this granny. She likes to see clotting blood like a hibiscus flower. I don't know if it was the subtitles were exactly the way it was phrased, but that conversation he had with this bloodthirsty granny has just stayed with me ever since I saw the film. I can't stop thinking about that. That there was violence in the past in the family, and then now it's coming out again. That's part of it too, part of the theme of the movie. I can't get over the transformation that Mohanlal did from this naive young man to the end, where he's a guy fighting for his very survival and for his family's survival, but also then he just goes into a frenzy and he stabs over and over and over again, and then you just see the horror on his father's face. Amazing. And just the script and how it takes us from those happy beginning moments of the family to the horror at the end, and it just follows step by step by step. The way it's all constructed, I am in awe of this script and all of the layers of meaning to everything in it. I mean, it's obviously a lot about society and the police and our view of violence and what is self-defense, what is, how much are you allowed to fight back? I don't know. It's left me with so many thoughts, but it's not so much a romance, but there's an amazing scene at the beginning of the film. Mohanlal is engaged, I believe, to a cousin, and who is a school teacher, and so she's sort of also kind of this prim and proper persona in his life, who looks down on him once these things happen in the bad neighborhood when he had to move away. And he feels separated from her because of that. But then finally things have gotten so bad that his uncle says she needs to marry somebody else. There's too much. She can't marry you anymore. But he wants Mohanlal to break it off, to convince her to marry somebody else. And because he's always stepped up in the family before, he does it again. And that scene, she's crying and he's telling her, don't cry. It was just an amazing scene. This particular scene is just masterful, and just the way it's filmed of him walking away. I mean, you've seen this guy just take on the mantle of adulthood, but then also take on this violent nature in himself that maybe he never knew existed, and he realizes he can't, even though he loves her, he tells her that he doesn't love her anymore because he has to set her free, because he knows someone like her doesn't belong with someone like him anymore. And it's heartbreaking, and just the way Mohanlal sells that scene, amazing. Just amazing. So I feel like I've rambled on, but this is the kind of movie where there's so much to say, there's just so much to absorb about it. And it's just a little over 2 hours. It feels like it moves much more swiftly than some other Malayalam films. It just is so tightly constructed. And so I realized that the same director and the same scriptwriter had done His Highness Abdullah, which I also really enjoyed, but I have not seen their other films. I also realized that there is a sequel to this film that came out 4 years after this film, which obviously I have to see now. It sounds like it's probably equally a downer, but amazing that this film was so great and that they were able to carry on with what happens to these characters sometime in the future, because obviously I want to know. Obviously at the end Mohanlal was going to jail, but then what, right? I mean, he's a changed man now. All of his dreams of what he was going to be to make his father happy is never going to happen. So now what? I hope you enjoyed this very lengthy video review of Kireedam, a masterwork Malayalam cinema, one of the finest performances of Mohanlal that I've ever seen, and there are so many fine performances. I would still say Devasuram is my favorite film, but this now, it's just really right up there. It is amazing. So if you haven't seen it, you have to see it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Please follow us on Facebook and Twitter at PardesiYT. Like this video and share it. Subscribe to the Pardesi channel. Press that bell, and then you'll get a notification whenever I have a new film review or trailer reaction.